Hello, today we are going to be solving equations. We will be covering single-step problems and multi-step problems. These will include problems with parentheses and problems with variables on both sides. So if you are interested, keep on watching. Hello! Today we are going to be learning how to solve equations. Now, we know that when we are presented with an equation, it has several parts. In this first equation, I have my variable x. So the variable is the letter or the symbol that you are trying to find the value of. So I have my variable x, and I also have some constants. I have my 5 and I have my 8. Now, what is happening to x? Whenever you are trying to solve an equation, those are the questions that you want to ask yourself. Okay, what is happening to my variable? Now, I took my variable x, I added a 5 to it, and that gave me a result of 8. So to reverse this, I have to do the opposite of adding 5. Now, the opposite of adding is subtracting, and the opposite of subtracting is adding. Now, the opposite of multiplying is dividing, and of course, the opposite of dividing would have been multiplication. But in this case, we first took our x, we added a 5, and it gave us an 8. So then we ask ourselves, what is the opposite of adding 5? That is subtracting 5. So your answer is 8 minus 5 gives you x equals 3. In this particular question, we have our variable x again. And what is happening to x? I took x and then I subtracted a 4. So I have x, I subtracted a 4, and it gave me a 14. Now, what is the opposite of subtracting 4? The opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. So 14 plus 4, x is equal to 18. What about this question? I have y over 5 is equal to 3. And now, whenever you see a problem where you have a variable over a number, it's just division. So if you are more comfortable writing it like this, y divided by 5 gives you 3, that's okay. Now, what is happening to y? Y is being divided by 5. And that gives me 3. So what is the opposite of dividing by 5? Multiplying by 5. So 3 times 5, y is equal to 15. And you always want to circle or underline your answer just so that your teacher can really see your solution clearly. Now, in this particular question, we have 6x equals 42. Now, 6x means 6 times x. So what is happening to my variable x? I am multiplying it by 6, and then that gives me 42. So I took my variable, I times it by 6, and it gave me a 42. What is the opposite of multiplying by 6? Dividing by 6. And 42 divided by 6 gives us x is 7. So that is it for the single step problems. But what about when I have a multi-step problem, a problem that involves more than one step? If I am presented with 4x plus 5 equals 13, what this is saying is that I have 4 times x, then I am adding a 5. So I took my x, I multiplied it by 4, and then I added a 5. Now, when you're doing these problems, the order is relevant. I multiplied by 4 first, then I added a 5. So I didn't add the 5, then times it by 4. No. I multiplied the variable x by 4. That's why I have 4x. And then I added 5 to the result. Now, what is the opposite of adding 5? subtracting 5. So 13 minus 5, that is 8. Now, we're not finished because we haven't worked with the 4 as yet, but that 8 is just an intermediate step. What is the opposite of multiplying by 4? That is dividing by 4. So 8, and we're using this 8 right now. We're no longer using this 13 over here. 8 divided by 4 means x is equal to 2. And the beautiful thing about equations is that you can check your answer. Now, if I'm telling you that x is 2, that means if I substitute x into this problem, it should work out to be 13. So 4x, that's 4 times x, so that's 4 times 2, plus 5, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 plus 5 gives us back our 13. So that is how we can know that our answer is correct. So x over 3 means I have x divided by 3. And then I add 5 to that result. And it's okay if I am not using brackets because we know that the rules of PEDMAS would mean that the division is done first. All right, so I'm okay with not using any brackets right here. I'm only writing it this way so that you can see how it's worked out. All right, so it works for these types of problems. Now, what am I doing to my variable? I divided it by 3. Then I added a 5. And that gave me a 12. What is the opposite of adding 5? Subtracting 5. So 12 divided by 5, I have, 12 minus 5. So 12 minus 5, I have myself a 7. And then if I multiply that answer by 3, why am I multiplying by 3? Because guess what? It said I divided by 3 up here, so the opposite is now multiplying by 3. So 7 times 3 means x is 21. Now let's go ahead and check that answer. Now if I have x over 3 plus 5 equals 12, let's substitute 21 in to see if it will work out. So I have 21 over 3 plus 5. Now we know that 21 divided by 3 is equal to 7. So 7 plus 5 indeed gives us back our 12. All right, so we are correct. In this particular question, I am told that I have 6x minus 2 equals 22. What's my variable? My variable is x. So I took my x, I times by 6, then I subtracted a 2, and it gave me 22. So I took my x, I multiplied it by 6, then I subtracted a 2, and that gave me 21. So I'm just writing the equation again in a different form. Now I will go ahead and do the opposite. What is the opposite of subtracting 2? That is adding 2. So 22 plus 2, my intermediate step is 24. Now I'm continuing along the line. So it's a flow chart. I'm continuing. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is dividing by 6. So 24 divided by 6 means x is equal to 4. So for this particular question, we have ourselves an equation that has a x on both sides. Now, anything I do to one side of an equation, I have to do that same thing to the other side to keep it balanced. So if I, let's say, add 1 to this side, I must also add a 1 to this side. If I subtract from one side, I have to subtract the same thing from the other side to keep it balanced. So I want to get rid of this 2x that's right here. The only way that I can get rid of a 2x that's being added is by subtracting it from both sides. Now look at this. I am going to write the same equation down, just leaving a little space in between so that I can write. So I have 4x, I have minus 8. So this is the same thing that we currently have. Nothing has been added to it. No, I said I wanted to get rid of a 2x that's right here. So I minus a 2x from the left and a minus a 2x from the right. Now, why is this okay? This is okay because I did this to both sides. I subtracted a 2x from the left and I subtracted a 2x from the right. What I did to the left, I also did to the right. So my equation is still the same. It's still balanced. Now, what was the purpose of that activity? Do you notice that I currently have a 2x minus 2x? Now, if I have anything minus itself, that just becomes 0. If I have 2x minus 2x, that's 0. If I have 10 minus 10, that's 0. So on the left side, no, I have 12 is equal to, so if I have 4x minus 2x, so 4 minus 2 leaves us with a 2x minus 8. So all I did was I subtracted a 2x from both sides to get rid of the 2x that's right here. So I currently have 12 is equal to 2x minus 8. So currently, so I'm not finished with this problem because now I have 12 is equal to 2x minus 8. No, there are several ways that we can solve this. I am going to solve this by the flowchart method that we were doing earlier, just because we would have already started it and I want to make sure that you're still understanding. So what is happening to my x? Let's take a look. I am multiplying it by 2. And then I am subtracting an 8. So all I'm doing is I'm writing down what is happening to my variable. I multiplied it by 2, then I added an 8, and it gave me a 12. After which, I'm doing the opposite. What is the opposite of subtracting 8? That is adding an 8. Now 12 plus 8 is 20. What is the opposite of multiplying by 2? That is dividing by 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So x is 10. There are several ways that this could have been solved. This is just one of the ways. So if you know another way, please feel free to share it in the comments below. All right, so for this question, I have 9y minus 7 is equal to 5 plus 5y. So I want to first get rid of this 5y that's right here. Now I can subtract a 5y from both sides. Remember that anything I do to one side, I must do it to the other side to keep everything balanced. So if I'm subtracting a 5y from the left, I have to also subtract a 5y from the right. Now, why am I subtracting a 5y? Because I want to get rid of one of the y's. I want to get rid of this one. I could have also gotten rid of this one. That's okay. That's just another way to solve it. Remember that problems can be solved in different ways, and this is just one of the ways that we're going to solve it now. So if I subtract the 5y from both sides, 9y minus 5y is 4y minus 7. And of course, 5y minus 5y zeros out. So it's just 4y minus 7 equals 5. No, as I said, there are several ways that these problems can be solved. No, I am going to continue showing you the flowchart method, right? Now, what is happening to my variable? So I have my y, and what is happening to it? I am multiplying by 4, then I am subtracting a 7, and that gives me a 5. Now, what is the opposite of subtracting 7? That is adding 7. So 5 plus 7 is equal to 12. What is the opposite of multiplying by 4? That's dividing by 4. 12 divided by 4 means y is equal to 3. Whenever we are presented with a problem that has brackets, we know that we have to take care of what is inside of the brackets first. Now, what is inside of these brackets? I have 2x plus 1. Now, I ask myself, can that be simplified? No, it cannot, because they're unlike terms. So inside of the brackets, there's nothing I can do. But there's a 3 on the outside, and I can expand my brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and expand the brackets. I'm actually going to show you how to solve this problem in 2 ways. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand the brackets for you. So 3 times 2x, that is 6x. 3 times 1, that is just the 3. So 6x plus 3 is 27. And then I can solve this the regular way that we're used to. I ask myself, what is happening to x? I multiplied by 6. Then I added a 3. And that gives me 27. So I times by 6, I add 3, it gives me 27. Now, what is the opposite of adding 3? That is subtracting 3. 27 minus 3 is 24. What is the opposite of multiplying by 6? That's dividing by 6. So 24 divided by 6 means x is equal to 4. Now, what is the other way that I said I was going to show you? Now, I want you to think about this problem like this. I have 3 times something in brackets. I'm saying something intentionally. 3 times this thing gives me 27. So 3 times something gives me 27. Do you recognize that I can divide both sides by 3? Because 27 is divisible by 3. Watch this. I could have gone ahead and divided both sides by 3 to begin, as opposed to expanding the brackets, just because it makes the numbers a little bit smaller and easier to work with. Nothing is wrong with big numbers. However, I know some persons find the larger numbers a little bit harder. So you could have divided both sides by 3. The only reason I can do this is because 27 right here is divisible by 3. It's in the 3 times table. Because look at this. 27 divided by 3 gives me a 9. And of course, 3 into 3 is a 1. So I just have 2x plus 1 is equal to 9. I'm just going to go ahead and solve it just to show that we're going to get the same thing. Now, 2x plus 1 gives me 9. What is happening to x? I multiplied it by 2. Then I added a 1. And it gave me a 9. What is the opposite of adding 1? Subtracting 1. So 9 minus 1 is 8. And the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So 8 divided by 2 means x is 4. Now, this problem is not set up in the same way as the previous problem was. I know some persons might be tempted to say, hey, in the last problem, we just went ahead and we divided both sides by the 5. But notice that on the right-hand side over here, these numbers are not divisible by a 5. All right, without a remainder, of course. So I just have to go ahead and expand my brackets. So 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. So 10x minus 15 is equal to 13 plus 6x. So I want to kind of simplify this problem. I don't want to be working with a 10x and a 6x. So if I have a 6x right here and I want to get rid of it, I can minus it from both sides. So since I have a positive 6x, To get rid of it, I minus it from both sides. Now, if I had a negative 6x, I'd have to add 6x to both sides, all right? So I'll now go ahead and subtract 6x from both sides. So 10x, subtracting 6x from the left, writing back the 15 because nothing has happened to it. Then I have 13 and minus 6x. So essentially, I have the same thing I did above. I only have a minus 6x on each side, and I have to do it to both sides to keep it balanced. So this part zeroes out. Now 10x minus 6x is 4x. So 4x minus 15 is equal to 13. Now this looks like something that we can solve. 4x minus 15 is equal to 13. What is happening to my x? So I took my x, I multiplied it by 4, and then I subtracted a 15, and it gave me 13. Now, what is the opposite of subtracting 15? That is adding 15. So if I add 15 to 13, I now have 28. What is the opposite of multiplying by 4? That's dividing by 4. So 28 divided by 4 means x is 7. For this particular question, let's examine what's going on. So I have 3 minus 9x minus 7 plus 2x equals 10. So a lot is happening on my left-hand side. So let's simplify that down a little bit before we go into solving the problem. So you don't want to start solving the problem when there's simplification to be done. It's possible, but it's just going to make your life harder than it has to be. So let's put our like terms together. Now remember that like terms have the same variable and power, and all constants are like terms to each other. So 3 and minus 7, they can be beside each other, they're like. Then I have negative 9x plus 2x equals 10. So 3 minus 7 is negative 4. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7x, and that's 10. Now I have negative 4 minus 7x is equal to 10. I can get rid of this negative 4 that's right here because I just want the x to be on one side by itself. So let's add 4 to both sides. So because I have a negative 4, I have to do the opposite of negative 4 to both sides, which is adding a positive 4. So if I put a plus 4 on the left and a plus 4 on the right, then I will have a simpler problem. So I will go ahead, plus 4 here, and plus 4 here. Now notice that I have the same problem as above. I only added a 4 to both sides, all right? So it's not a different problem. I did not do anything else other than add a 4 to both sides. And the purpose of adding a 4 to both sides is to go ahead and zero that out. So I have negative 7x is equal to 14. Now, I will ask myself, okay, what is happening to x? Now, x is being multiplied by a negative 7 because I have negative 7x. So that's negative 7 times x. So x is being multiplied by a negative 7. So what is the opposite of multiplying by a negative 7? That is dividing by a negative 7. So x was being multiplied by a negative 7 to get a 14. Now I have to go ahead and divide it by a negative 7. And I'll get 14 divided by a negative 7, so x is negative 2. Now, there are several ways that this problem can be solved because I could have also from right here, I could have recognized that I am multiplying by a -7 and go ahead and say, okay, let me divide by a -7 on both sides. That is the balancing method. And then this would go ahead and be x is -2. You are free to do whatever method you know how to do and you are comfortable with. All right, thank you for watching this video. I do appreciate your support. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you are interested in one-on-one tutoring, you will go ahead and click the link that is in the description box.